today with another unboxing. This one is actually fairly exciting. This is one of the higher performing products we've looked at in a while. We've been sent in a gold P31 SSD from SK Hynix. This is an M2 NVMe drive. But before we get too far into this, I am going to be upfront and say that yes, Hynix sent this drive in, and there'll be a link in the description to some trouble they've gotten themselves into with the community. Now, I'm going to say that they didn't put any restrictions or requirements on us that I've heard other people claim, so we're not going to have any issues comparing this to things like Kingston drives that we have in our test suite already. So, yes, they sent the product in, but you're going to get the same fair unbiased shake at this that you would the Team flash drives that I purchased recently. So, anyway, this is the gold P31. Comes in a relatively attractive package, but I'm also a little bit disappointed taking a look at the packaging is that there's no performance numbers listed on it. We do get some good information. We've got a 5-year warranty and a QR code for more information that I'll scan and see where that takes me before I open this up. So let's just grab a QR code scanner, and if I can get the thing in focus. Okay, so that just links to ssd.skhynix.com, which is their main site. It doesn't link to the /gold P31. Well, at least it didn't seem to. Yeah, that just links to their main SSD site, which, since they only have 2 client SSDs, well, I should say since they only have 2 consumer SSDs that you'll see in retail isn't terrible. It's very obvious this is the P31 and not the S31, which, by the way, Paul looked at a little while ago. Check that out. There'll be a link in the description for that as well. So, the key numbers, well, let's see if they put them inside the box. Let's go ahead and try out our little flash drive as a box cutter here. Yeah, I'm going to say that that'll work fine on cardboard boxes, but isn't really ideal for this. It didn't quite cut through it. There we go. All right, so that works in a pinch, but anyway. So, inside we get some nice environmentally friendly cardboard, which is one thing I'll point out, that the packaging says it was printed with soy ink, so they're definitely trying to make things eco-friendly. We get some user instructions here. Let's see, it's got a warranty statement, 5-year term, it's in a couple of languages. Yeah, basically turn the computer off and just install it like you would any other M2 drive. SK Hynix terms and conditions. Basically, the warranty is 5 years, and there looks like there's some kind of arbitration clause in here. Oh, yeah, for warranty disputes. All right, Earth First packaging. And that is about as bare bones as it could get, packaging and M2 SSD. Let's zoom in here a little. All right, so here is the SSD itself. Basically, everything is cardboard and paper except for this little, I assume it's anti-static, although it's not the same cover. packaging here, and I do wonder what this particular plastic is made out of. It feels different than a lot of other plastics that I've seen things packaged in before. So this may be some kind of biodegradable starch-based packaging. Let's just go ahead and come on, I didn't want to. Okay, there we go. All right, so the drive itself, pretty. Can I focus on the writing there? All right, we've got that in focus. Nothing particularly outstanding here. DC 3.3 volts, 2.5 amps. That puts the maximum power draw at something like, what, 8 watts? 3.3. Yeah, 8.25 watts. It's a little high, but not ungodly so. That's usually not the actual power draw. We can see this is a single-sided PCB. And I wonder, do I have a small... something that I can very carefully take this sticker off with. Okay, so, and I'll see if I can throw these under a scope and bring them up. There's a couple of things that I noticed. Number one, the sticker is literally just a sticker. It's not a thermal interface like we've seen on some of the higher performance drives, which surprises me knowing what this drive is rated at. I've got the website up here, and this is rated for 3,500 meg per second read and 3,200 meg per second writes sequentially. So those are not pedestrian numbers, and Hynix knows what they're doing. I know they may not sound like a name brand that we're familiar with, but Hynix is a big Korean manufacturer. Hynix is a big memory and NAND manufacturer that has been around for a long time, and odds are you have chips of theirs somewhere. So these two flash modules, and it looks like we do just have two flash modules. And are these the same? Yeah, those are the same. Hynix made those. That's their own NAND. All of their drives use their own NAND. And just like Samsung, they've got their own controller here. Hynix is one of the big memory manufacturers. They make actual NAND chips for things like DRAM and a lot of the SSDs that we see out there. So typically, they haven't sold SSDs straight to consumers. This is a new market for them. But they have sold countless drives that you'll see pop up as OEM units for, your big laptop and desktop manufacturers would go to Hynix and get drives made. They would sell their NAND for use in other drives. So I don't think we've had any here recently, but you'd see drives from companies like AData or Kingston show up with Hynix NAND in them. I think a lot of the stuff we've seen recently was Micron NAND. Hynix was a little bit late to market with some of their 3D NAND products. So this may be an attempt to reestablish their name, as it were. But they've got a custom controller, we've got a memory chip on here, and we've got two NAND packages. Now, this is structured a little bit differently than we're used to seeing on SSDs. And let me grab, I think I've got an Intel one here. So I've got the Intel QLC drive. And what we'll notice here, and I'm going to take its sticker off too, is that the controller is actually on one end. And yes, this looks a little bit bigger because I've got an external enclosure right now. It is the same drive. It's an M22280. So the controller was on one end, and then the actual NAND packages were in the middle, and then the opposite end of the SSD. So I think what they're going for here is equalized latency to the NAND packages themselves. The design this way, the latency from the controller to this NAND package is actually lower than the latency from the controller to this NAND package. How much is that going to make a difference in performance? Well, without two drives using the same controller, same memory, and same NAND that were built this way and then that way, I really can't tell you because I don't have a direct comparison. But it's interesting to see that they've actually optimized their board layout, and since they do make the controller and the memory and the NAND on the drive, they can spend time on something like that. Unlike even Intel here, who just used an SMI controller. Now, that said, Intel does use their own controllers on higher performance products. This was a 600p QLC device. But that is a side note. All right, my Arico enclosure is back together. There'll be a link to the Arico enclosure, by the way. I reviewed that thing a couple of months ago and have found it indispensable anytime I need to move large volumes of data between systems. I mean, I've got plenty of flash drives, 128, even some 256 gigs, and I think another 512 SSD. But when I'm moving things like system images, having 1 terabyte of fast storage is absolutely fantastic. Alright, so I'm going to stick this under the scope and get the images of these chips, and I'll have those up. I do note that this is clearly a single-sided design. There's no provision left for additional NAND modules in a larger 2 terabyte capacity, and it may be that they don't think that they'll sell one, or that they plan on introducing that in a newer, larger size. This is 128 layer NAND, which is Hynix's own, as I mentioned. The memory buffer, I believe, is 1 gigabyte. They don't give me a complete spec sheet on their website. We'll find out when we put it through testing. And yeah, so Hynix P31, I'll have it on the test bench. Hopefully we'll have results in a week or two. Super excited to see this drive come in. It's not often that we see drives come in that are fully vertically integrated like this. So I'm going to be really excited to see how this compares to someone like Kingston, who makes the drive, or I should say Kingston or Mushkin, who makes the drive, but has to buy the NAND, buy the controller, buy the memory module, and then assemble it. And that's not to say that that's a bad way to do it, but there's things that you can do when you control the complete product stack top to bottom, both from a performance standpoint and cost standpoint, that you can't do when you have to buy all of those things. You get to pick that you get the best NAND chips that you've made in the production batch. You get to say that I get to use all of my A-class memory module. That's typically what these manufacturers do. So Hynix will make a batch of NAND and they'll test their wafers. And these will be the best wafers that they got in that batch. And then there'll be some that are still good wafers that then go to sale at other places. And then there'll be wafers that are, then there'll be modules that are worse than that get sold for cheap things like flash drives that you see at the checkout counter. And then it's up to the other the purchasers to integrate that with the controller or whatever they may be using it in. So that's it. Simple packaging, eco-friendly. I'm going to take this plastic and I'm just going to put it in a glass of water and see if it breaks down at all. I've seen them make packaging out of various plant starches that just kind of dissolves when it gets wet. And I'm wondering if that's what this is here. So we'll see what happens with that. And we'll be back when we have some performance data on this drive. With all that said, I want to thank our patrons who help make content like this possible. We definitely appreciate every patron we get, and if you want to help support Pocketables making content like this and other content that we've done recently, definitely check that out. There'll be a link in the description below. I want to thank Electrix, who has provided our opening and closing mute themes. There will be a link to his channel inside one of those, and there'll also be a link in the description. Definitely check that out. It's fantastic open source music. And with all of that said, if you have any questions or comments, if there's a test that you would like to see run on this that isn't part of our normal test bench, go ahead and let me know in the comments below, and we'll make sure to do that while we're in testing. If you have any questions about what I mean when I say, this is a vertically integrated drive, let me know, and we'll go out and expand on that. With all of that said, thank you for watching.